Welcome to ColorCloud Story, how I slowly discovered the truth of my life in the past episode. I talked about how at the age of 56, about half a year ago, my life was suddenly completely rewritten. I discovered three major truths about my life. First, I was adopted. Second, I experienced long-term boundary violations in my adoptive family since childhood. Third, my marriage was actually a long deception arranged by my husband. Later, on January 15 this year, my DNA test finally matched with members of my biological family. For the first time in my life, I knew that somewhere in this world, my real family truly existed. However, we have not met yet because I later learned that I was born outside of marriage, and my biological family has not yet been ready to face this situation. Many people may ask how someone can discover so many life-changing truths in such a short time. But for me, these were not just pieces of information. They were like three huge mountains that had been present on my life for decades. Today, I want to tell you how. During these past 6 months, I slowly walked through the darkest period of my life. Looking back now, I realize that this process can be divided into 5 stages. This story is long, so I will tell it in 2 parts. The first stage was that my body woke up before my mind did. When I look back now, it probably started 2 or 3 years ago. My body had already begun to react. At that time, I believed it was menopause because many women experience changes during that period. But now I understand that it was not menopause. It was my body waking up. I began to feel a strong physical disgust toward men. It was not only toward my husband, it was toward men in general. I started to feel strong rejection toward intimacy. Sometimes when my husband simply touched my hand, I would immediately pull my hand away as if I had been shocked and instinctively say, "Don't touch me." Sometimes I looked at him and felt that this man was extremely ugly and disgusting. At that time, I did not understand why. I only thought maybe it was because of menopause. But now I understand that my body had already started to wake up before my mind understood the truth. The second stage was when I began to feel a very strong urge to express myself. I suddenly had a powerful idea that I want to make videos. This idea became stronger and stronger. It felt as if something inside my body was pushing me to speak out and fight for my own rights. Finally, on May 6th last year, I started making videos on Chinese platforms. At the beginning, when I was as talked about my past experiences, I would suddenly cry uncontrollably. It was not ordinary crying. It felt as if a lifetime of grievance had suddenly opened up. Tears kept following, and sometimes I cried so hard that I would not continue speaking. After recording the videos, I often wondered why I cried so much. From a psychological perspective, this is actually a reaction of the nervous system. When emotions have been suppressed inside the body for decades, once those memories are touched, the nervous system begins to release those stored emotions, especially when I remembered the heavy housework I had to do as a child and the exploitation and coldness from my adoptive family. The pain that had been buried for decades suddenly came back like a storm, even though I had already left them more than 10 years ago and had moved to United States. Those wounds had never already disappeared. The third stage happened about 2 months after I started making videos. One morning, when I had just opened my eyes, a thought suddenly appeared very clear in my mind. You are adopted. Your blood type does not match theirs. At that moment, I was completely shocked. Many things from the past that I could never explain suddenly connected together. I suddenly understood many things. I immediately woke up my husband and told him about this realization. From that moment on, I began asking people and searching for my information about my background. I began investigating the truth about whether I had been adopted. At that moment, I realized that my life had begun to wake up. But that was only the beginning. In the next episode, I will continue this story and talk about what happened next and how more truths about my life began to appear. Thank you for watching. See you next time.